Let me ask you a question. Have you ever wanted to be the woman who makes a man's legs literally shake, not just from desire, but from the magnetism you create? I'm talking about the kind of energy that makes him nervous, excited, addicted, and completely drawn to you. The kind of woman who walks into a room and doesn't just turn heads, she commands the energy of the space without even trying. See, most women think the way to keep a man hooked is by giving more attention, more affection, more time. But here's the truth, giving more isn't what makes him shake. It's knowing how to knack him with the right technique, the one that makes him feel something deep inside. It's about knowing how to touch his emotions, his imagination, and yes, even his body in ways that he cannot ignore. Think about it. Have you ever been around someone who made you so nervous and excited at the same time that you couldn't sit still? Your legs bounced, your body fidgeted, your mind raced. That's exactly what you can make a man feel when you know this technique. And here's the secret. It's not about being the most beautiful or the sexiest or the one who tries the hardest. It's about energy. It's about confidence. It's about creating that irresistible push and pull dynamic that makes him crave more of you every time he's around you. So today, I'm going to give you 5 powerful keys that will unlock this effect. 5 ways to not just catch his attention, but to keep it to the point where his legs literally shake when he's near you. Let's dive in. When it comes to attraction, one of the biggest mistakes people make is believing that if they give more, they'll get more. More time, more availability, more affection, more attention. But here's the truth. When you give everything up front, you rob him of the one thing that fuels attraction, anticipation. Anticipation is that delicious tension, that irresistible curiosity that keeps him wondering about you. And when a man is left wondering, that's when his body reacts, that's when his mind races, and that's when he finds himself completely drawn to you. Think about it. Why do we get addicted to TV shows? Why do we binge watch them episode after episode? It's because every single one ends with a cliffhanger. You don't get all the answers at once. You're left curious, hungry for more. And that's exactly how attraction works. If you give him the whole season of you in one sitting, he'll appreciate it for a moment. He won't feel compelled to come back. But when you hold back just enough, when you give him a taste but not the full meal, you make him crave the next episode. You become addictive. So what does this look like in real life? It could be as simple as not always responding to his texts immediately. Not because you're playing games, but because you actually have a life. You're busy. You have things going on that make you interesting. It could mean not revealing your entire life story on the first date, but instead sharing little pieces over time. So every conversation with you feels like unwrapping a new gift. It could be in your physical interactions too, not rushing to give too much too soon, but allowing intimacy to unfold at a pace that keeps him on edge, wanting more. Here's what happens when you build anticipation. He starts to think about you when you're not around. He wonders what you're doing, who you're with, what you're thinking. He replays your conversations in his mind because you didn't give him all the answers. He remembers your smile because you didn't overstay your welcome. That space you create becomes a magnet, pulling him back to you. The beauty of anticipation is that it works on both a physical and emotional level. Physically, when you're not too quick to touch, kiss, or give everything away, you heighten the intensity of every single moment you do share. A kiss that happens after hours of playful conversation and eye contact is far more powerful than a kiss given out of obligation in the first 5 minutes. Emotionally, when you share just enough vulnerability but not your whole soul, you create depth without drowning him. You allow him to earn access to the deeper parts of you, and that investment makes him value you more. Now, I want you to understand something important. Building anticipation doesn't mean being cold, manipulative, or distant. It doesn't mean withholding affection or playing mind games. It simply means pacing yourself, respecting your own value, and recognizing that attraction grows in the spaces between interactions, not in constant availability. When you learn to be okay with silence, when you're comfortable letting him wait a little, when you can smile and walk away before the moment overstays its magic, that's when you become unforgettable. Men don't fall for women who are always available. They fall for women who leave them wanting more. They fall for the woman who knows she is the prize and doesn't feel the need to prove it by over-giving. They fall for the woman who understands that desire isn't built in what you give, but in what you save for later. So if you want to make his legs shake, if you want to leave him restless, addicted, and craving your presence, stop giving everything at once. let him feel the thrill of the chase. Let him live in that tension. Because anticipation is not just a strategy, it's the heartbeat of attraction. If you really want to make a man's legs shake, if you want to touch him in a way that feels almost electric without even laying a hand on him, then you have to understand the power of eye contact. Most women completely underestimate just how powerful a simple gaze can be. They think attraction is built in the words they say, in how funny or flirty they can be, or in how good they look. And while all of that helps, nothing creates intensity faster than looking a man in the eye with confidence. Think about the last time you were in conversation with someone and they held your eyes just a little longer than usual. Do you remember how it made you feel? A little nervous, a little excited, maybe even slightly vulnerable. That's because eye contact bypasses all the surface level noise and goes straight into intimacy. It communicates without saying a word. I see you, I'm here with you, and I'm not afraid of this connection. Now, here's where the magic happens. When you hold his eyes for just a beat longer than normal, you're telling him you're confident, you're not intimidated, and you're fully present in that moment. And then when you break that eye contact with a little smile or even a playful glance away, you create a roller coaster of emotions. His brain lights up. He feels a rush of adrenaline, like he's just been caught in something powerful. And that, my friend, is when his legs start to shake. Here's what most people get wrong. They either avoid eye contact because they're nervous, or they overdo it and end up staring, which can feel more creepy than attractive. The art is in the balance. You want to hold his gaze just enough to make him feel like you're piercing through his walls, and then you release it, leaving him craving that connection again. It's the tease, it's the push and pull. Eye contact also works because it's primal. Our biology is wired to respond to it. Babies gaze into their mother's eyes for bonding. Lovers lock eyes before they kiss. Fighters stare each other down before a match. Eye contact is how we signal intensity, whether it's love, danger, or passion. When you use it deliberately, you trigger something deep inside him that makes him feel that same intensity with you. Let me give you a practical example. Imagine you're on a date. He's telling a story, maybe about his work or funny experience he had. Instead of just nodding politely or looking around the room, lean in slightly and lock your eyes on his. Really listen and let him see that you're listening. And then when he pauses, hold that eye contact for just a moment longer before breaking it with a little smirk or a soft laugh. What that does is it makes him feel like you're not just hearing his words, you're connecting with him. And that connection is intoxicating. Now, here's another tip. Don't be afraid to let silence do some of the work. A lot of people rush to fill silence in conversations, but when you hold eye contact during those little pauses, you turn silence into chemistry. You let the tension grow instead of killing it. And trust me, that tension is the very thing that makes his heart beat faster. His body restless, his legs a little shaky. Eye contact says, I'm confident enough to hold your attention. It says, I'm not running, I'm not hiding, I'm comfortable right here in this moment with you. And that comfort, that poise, that subtle boldness is unbelievably attractive. So if you want to master this technique, practice it. The next time you're talking to someone, even a friend, notice how much eye contact you usually give. Then push yourself to hold it just a second longer. Pair it with a genuine smile or a playful glance, and you'll see how powerful it can be. Remember, words can be forgotten, looks fade. But the way someone makes us feel in a single moment stays etched in our memory forever, and nothing makes a man feel more electrified, more vulnerable, and more connected than when a woman uses her eyes to speak straight to his soul. When it comes to attraction, words are one of your most powerful tools. And I don't just mean what you say, I mean how you say it. Because the truth is, men don't fall for women who only give compliments, or who agree with everything they say, or who keep the conversation polite and safe. Men fall for women who know how to play, how to spark his imagination, and how to keep him guessing. That's where teasing comes in. Teasing is about being light-hearted, playful, and just a little bit challenging. It's about showing him that you're confident enough not to put him on a pedestal, that you see him as someone fun to engage with, not someone you're desperately trying to please. And when you do it right, it creates a spark that makes his heart race and his legs go a little weak. Let me give you an example. Imagine he's bragging about how great he is at basketball. Instead of saying, wow, that's amazing, you could look at him with a little smirk and say, oh, really? Should I believe you? Or should I wait until you actually prove it? That's teasing. You're not insulting him, but you're not worshipping him either. You're challenging him in a way that makes the conversation fun, flirty, and filled with chemistry. Or let's say he's taking forever to reply to your texts. Instead of sending a frustrated message like, "Why didn't you reply?" you could playfully say, "Oh, I see you're on the VIP response plan. Takes 3-5 business days to hear back from you." That kind of playful jab makes him laugh, makes him feel a little called out, and most importantly, makes you come across as witty and confident. Teasing works because it flips the script. Most men are used to women giving them validation, laughing at all their jokes, agreeing with their stories. But when you give him something unexpected, a playful challenge, a cheeky comment, you stand out. You make him work for your approval. And believe me, men love to work for it. It makes them feel alive, and it makes them feel like they've met their match. Now, here's the secret. Teasing is effective only when it's done with warmth. If your tone is harsh, if your words cut too deep, it can feel mean instead of fun. The magic lies in your delivery. A playful smile, a cheeky tone, maybe even a laugh at the end. That's what lets him know you're having fun with him, not putting him down. Teasing without warmth can create distance, but teasing with warmth creates intimacy. And here's the part that makes his legs shake. When you combine teasing with a little unpredictability, you become magnetic. He never knows what you're going to say next. One moment you're complimenting him, the next you're poking fun at him in a playful way. That unpredictability keeps him on his toes. He's leaning in, wanting more, because being around you feels like an adventure. Teasing also shows confidence. It communicates that you're not afraid to speak up, that you're comfortable enough to be playful, and that you see yourself as his equal. You're not trying to win him over. You're enjoying yourself, and he just happens to be lucky enough to be in the game with you. That energy is irresistible. Think of it like a dance. Too much validation and he'll get bored. Too much coldness and he'll walk away. But the perfect balance of teasing, lighthearted challenges mixed with warmth, creates the rhythm that makes attraction grow. So next time you're with him, don't just sit back and play it safe. Throw in a playful line. Call him out with a cheeky smile. Challenge him in a way that makes him laugh and lean in closer, because when you learn to tease him with your words, you're not just making conversation, you're creating chemistry. And chemistry is what makes his heart pound, his legs shake, and his mind race long after you've left the room. When we talk about attraction, most people instantly think about big gestures, grand romantic moves, passionate kisses, or intense physical intimacy. But what if I told you that one of the most powerful ways to make a man's legs shake is through something much smaller, something so subtle that it almost feels accidental? I'm talking about the power of unexpected touch. You see, touch is primal. It's wired into us. From the moment we're born, we associate touch with comfort, closeness, and connection. But when it comes to attraction, touch has another effect. It sparks electricity. It sends signals straight to the brain that say, this person excites me. And when it's done in just the right way, it can make him feel a jolt of energy that he can't explain. That's why touch is such a secret weapon. The trick is in the timing and the subtlety. If you're constantly grabbing his hand, leaning on him, or clinging to him, the power of your touch gets lost. It becomes predictable, expected, almost routine. But when you keep it rare, playful, and unexpected, that's when it hits him like lightning. Imagine you're laughing together, and in that moment, you lightly brush his arm with your fingertips. Or you make a point in conversation and place your hand gently on his chest for just a second before pulling back. Maybe you're walking side by side and you nudge him playfully with your shoulder. These are small gestures, but they create an outsized impact because they catch him off guard. He wasn't expecting it, and that surprise sends a little thrill through his body. Here's why it works. Men are physical beings. They're highly attuned to touch, especially when it comes from a woman they're attracted to. A casual, seemingly innocent touch communicates far more than words ever could. It says, I'm comfortable with you, I trust you, and I'm inviting you into my space. That invitation is intoxicating. It bypasses his logical mind and goes straight to his nervous system. Suddenly, his pulse quickens, his body responds, and yes, his legs might even shake. But here's the best part, unexpected touch also builds tension, because you're not giving him constant physical affection. Every touch feels meaningful. He starts to crave it. He wonders, when is she going to touch me again? That wondering keeps him on edge, and attraction lives in that edge, the space between comfort and excitement, safety and thrill. Now, let me add a little warning. The magic of touch lies in moderation. If you overdo it, it loses its effect. Think of it like seasoning in food. A little bit brings the dish to life, but too much ruins it. The key is to keep it light, playful, and unpredictable. For example, imagine you're sitting together and you touch his knee for just a split second while making a point. Then you pull away as if nothing happened. That tiny moment will echo in his mind far longer than holding onto his hand the entire evening. Why? Because it was unexpected. It carried mystery. It left him wanting more. Another tip, pair your touch with eye contact or a playful smile. When your hand meets his arm and your eyes meet his at the same time, the effect multiplies. It's not just physical, it becomes emotional, even intimate. That's what makes it unforgettable. So the next time you're with him, don't underestimate the power of a light, unexpected touch. Use it sparingly, use it playfully, and let it catch him by surprise. Because when you master this, you'll create moments he can't shake off. He'll replay them in his head. He'll crave more of them. And every time he feels that little spark, his body will remind him, you're the one who makes his legs shake. If you really want to make a man's legs shake, not just in a physical sense, but emotionally, mentally, and spiritually, you have to understand the power of owning your feminine energy. This right here is the ultimate technique, because while anticipation, eye contact, playful teasing, and unexpected touch are all incredibly powerful, what ties them together and magnifies their effect is the energy you bring into every interaction. Now, let's clear something up. Feminine energy doesn't mean acting weak, passive, or submissive. In fact, it's the opposite. Feminine energy is about being grounded in yourself. It's about confidence that doesn't scream, but radiates. It's about softness that doesn't mean fragility, but strength expressed in a way that feels magnetic and irresistible. Think about the most captivating people you've met. They weren't necessarily the loudest, the most glamorous, or the ones constantly trying to prove themselves. They were the ones who carried themselves with ease. The ones who didn't feel the need to chase attention because their very presence drew attention naturally. That's feminine energy, its presence, its warmth, its authenticity. When you step into your feminine energy, you create a dynamic that makes men want to lean in. You allow them to feel masculine in your presence. You invite them to give, to pursue, to provide, to cherish. And here's the kicker. It's not because you demand it, but because your energy naturally calls it out of them. That polarity is what makes a man feel alive in your presence. And that aliveness, that's what makes his legs shake. Owning your feminine energy means laughing freely without worrying about looking silly. It means expressing compassion and empathy while still holding your boundaries. It means knowing your worth so deeply that you don't have to lower your standards or beg for love. You radiate joy, confidence, and self-respect, and that combination is intoxicating. Here's why this works on a deeper level. Most men are surrounded by stress, pressure, and competition in their daily lives. When they meet a woman who embodies feminine energy, she feels like a breath of fresh air. She's not competing with them. She's not trying to outdo them. She's inviting them into a space of connection, playfulness, and intimacy. That contrast is what makes her unforgettable. Now, I know what you might be thinking, but Matthew, how do I show my feminine energy in real life? It's in the little things. It's in the way you smile genuinely instead of forcing it. It's in the way you move slowly and intentionally instead of rushing. It's in allowing yourself to receive compliments instead of brushing them off. It's in leaning back sometimes and letting him come to you. And here's the truth. When you're in your feminine energy, you don't have to do much. You don't have to constantly chase or prove yourself. You just have to be, because your presence, your authenticity, your radiance, it does the work for you. And that's something men can't resist. So when you combine this with everything else, when you create anticipation, lock him in with your eyes, tease him with your words, touch him in unexpected ways, and then top it all off by fully embodying your feminine energy, you become unforgettable. You're not just another woman in his life. You're the woman who shakes him to his core, the woman whose presence makes him restless, the woman who lingers in his thoughts long after you're gone. At the end of the day, feminine energy is your superpower. It's not about trying harder. It's about stepping into the truest, most radiant version of yourself. And when you do that, you don't just make a man's legs shake, you make his heart shake too. So here's the truth. Making a man's legs shake isn't about looks. It's not about playing games, and it's not about trying harder. It's about mastering the art of energy and connection. You build anticipation so he can't stop thinking about you. You use your eyes to speak to him in ways words never could. You tease him playfully so he feels both challenged and excited. You touch him unexpectedly to send a rush of electricity through his body. And above all, you own your feminine energy so fully that just being around you makes him feel alive. When you combine all of these, you become unforgettable. You're not the woman he forgets after a few dates. You're the woman who lingers in his mind, who changes the way he feels, who makes him crave your presence like nothing else. That's the power you hold when you learn to master this technique. Now, I want to ask you something. Which of these 5 techniques are you going to practice first? Drop it in the comments below. I'd love to hear from you. And if you found this video helpful, make sure you hit that like button, subscribe for more powerful insights like this, and share it with a friend who deserves to step into her power too. Because trust me, when you learn how to make a man's legs shake, you're not just learning how to attract him, you're learning how to keep him, how to inspire him, and how to create the kind of connection that lasts. So go out there, own your energy, and watch how he can't help but be pulled closer to you.